You're listening to the Oklahoma On Stage podcast. We're glad you've joined us. We can be found on most platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have any comments or questions, we'd love to hear them. So drop us an email at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com or use the comment form on our website, which is oklahomaonstage.org. If you like the podcast, please share it with someone. And now, sit back and enjoy another great episode.
Oklahoma on stage, the stories come alive. With drama, dance, and music, the arts always thrive. From center stage to backstage lore, Oklahoma on stage, there's always something more.
Welcome back to Oklahoma On Stage. I'm Tim, your host. Today we're sitting down with a man whose career reads like a master class in creative reinvention. He is currently the Director of Marketing and Communications for the University of Central Oklahoma's College of Fine Arts and Design. That's a mouthful. But his story stretches far beyond the campus. With a history in advertising as well as theater, he earned a Master's of Performing Arts from Oklahoma City University and spent 2 decades teaching art, design, and theater. He's been a creative director, an educator, and now a champion for arts education at one of Oklahoma's most vibrant institutions. Whether he's crafting campaigns or curating stories, he brings a rare blend of strategic vision and artistic heart. And today we're diving into that journey from where he started to where he's leading now, with a spotlight on the Fine Arts Department at UCO and the creative pulse that keeps it thriving. Oklahoma On Stage family, please join me in welcoming Mr. Scott Hale to the podcast. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
So a lot of interesting stuff came about through all of that, but so you are the Director of Marketing and Communications for the University of Central Oklahoma's College of Fine Arts and Design. Like I said, that's a mouthful.
It is.
They gave you a $5 handle.
Yes.
We'll get into all of that in just a few minutes, but we always try to start, as I say almost every episode, we try to start with the elephant in the room. How did the theater bug bite you?
I have always been a storyteller. That's how I played growing up. I grew up in a very small town in the Oklahoma Panhandle, and I had friends, but I liked being by myself. And I would play in the backyard for hours and hours and hours, just making up and telling stories. And bless my parents' heart, because I know that, my dad was a high school basketball coach, and he wanted me to follow in his footsteps and be just thrilled with athletics. And where I grew up, everybody did everything. So of course I was on the basketball team, and of course I was involved in a lot of different things, because it wouldn't happen otherwise. We wouldn't have had a team. But I would be out in the backyard flying a stick around and talking to it. And, I just always loved making stuff up. And when it came to the point of, what do you want to do? You're going to go to college. I was like, well, I want to tell stories. Specifically, I thought I wanted to be a director. And I was basically told where I was going to go to college. And I went down there. It was actually here in Edmond, Oklahoma, right on the edge of Edmond and Oklahoma City. And they had a small theater department. I went and auditioned, and I got a scholarship. And my very first day of classes, my father unexpectedly showed up and had driven all 5.5 hours. Oh my. And he pulled me out of class, and he said, I'm not paying for this. And we're going to walk these halls until we find something that you're going to major in. And we just happened to be in the exact same building as the theater department was the art and design department. And he goes, you draw all the time. We can't keep you from drawing. Well, let's go do that. And that art and design department really skewed heavily towards design. And the professor there, of course, as you might imagine, was an amazing salesperson. And he said, I can guarantee I can get your son a job in design. And Dad, that sounded great to him. And I was like, okay, art, and amazingly, they let me keep my scholarship. So while I was studying design, I still was in every single play, because I had to audition.
Sure.
That was a part of my scholarship. And it was my family. I would say theater saved my life in a lot of ways. So I was in every single production in some way, shape, or form for 4 years. And then I graduated, and the professor did not lie. I got a job immediately in graphic design at an advertising agency. Tiny little advertising agency, 3 bosses and me, 1 employee. It's now the largest advertising agency in Oklahoma City. So it grew a ton while I was there. But I did that for 4 years before I just was like, I don't care about selling Hardee's hamburgers. It wasn't my passion.
Right.
There was enough of a overlap between graphic design and storytelling because you become a visual storyteller in a lot of ways. But, when you're told this is how you're going to tell that story, and especially when you're working with chains like Hardee's, Pizza Hut, Holiday Inn, Little Caesars, they already have it planned out. You're just telling their story for the area that you happen to be in. So at 4 years, I burned myself out good and hard. But I had made enough money at that point to essentially pay for my own education. So I went to Oklahoma City University, and I was going to study theater with no plans or of what I was going to do with it. I'm going to study theater. So I got a master's in performing arts. And I had no classes in theater. So they said, we'll see if you need any leveling. And if so, we'll put you in those undergraduate classes. Well, I completely hit the ground running because, I'm a kid who grew up in a small town doing everything that was thrown at you. You didn't have to specialize. In fact, you couldn't really specialize. You did everything.
Yeah.
So I was a problem solver by nature and loved Oklahoma City University. Had such a great time there. The hardest play I've ever been in my life was at Oklahoma City University. They did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. And I was Guildenstern. You are on stage for 2 hours straight in that play. And I don't know if you've ever read or been in Stoppard. The dialogue is diabolically difficult. It's like a tennis match of words on stage. And if one little thing goes wrong, you have to compensate for it. And I loved every moment of it, but I have never worked so hard in my life on learning lines and just being on the edge of terror while you're on stage. Graduated from Oklahoma City University and got a job as a fine arts information director, which basically was how to get the word out on the fine arts activities at this little college. And that was nothing new to me. While I was getting my undergraduate degree in design and being super active in theater, I was making the poster for the play. When I was getting my graduate work, they're like, hey, you're a designer? And I'm like, yeah. Would you design the posters for all of the shows at OCU? Sure. And they even paid me a little work study job to do that. So while I was in theater, a huge amount of not just being on stage, it's how do we get an audience to show up? How do we promote the show? How do we get the word out that it's happening? So that just job came really naturally to me. I loved it. And then they were like, hey, you want to teach a class? And I'm like, sure. One class turned into 3 classes. And then Oklahoma City University called me and said, hey, we need somebody to teach some public speaking classes. Sure, I can do that. Then that turned into, would you teach arts and human values, or arts appreciation? Would you teach acting 1 to the dance students? So I spent 20 years. I transitioned basically into a full-time adjunct instructor at 2 different small private Christian universities, and loved it. I was in the theater world. I was in the art world. It was just a creative space, and I really developed a true passion for arts education and working with students and watching the light bulbs come up in their heads and giving them the tools to go tell the stories that are important to them. So that's a long way of saying how I got bit by the bug.
No, that was great.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think so many of us, whether you're a teacher or you're just on stage with new actors or whatever, those aha moments, those light bulb moments, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
When they get it and it clicks and it just, that's, I've been a trainer and a public speaker myself. And so when you see the people in your classes and that light bulb goes off, I'm done for the day. Yeah, because that just makes it all worthwhile.
Well, public speaking is a gen ed class at most places. And there are people coming into there literally with like, I would rather die than get up and give a speech. So to see them, I had one student I'll never forget. He was from China. And the first speech that he ever gave, he made it 30 seconds in before he was literally tears running down his face, and he ran out of the room and vomited. But by the end of the semester, the entire class was leaning forward because we're hearing him land this speech. We know he's 30 seconds away from ending, and everyone's like, you can do, and then tears start coming in his face. And we're like, oh no, but when he finished that speech, the entire class just stood up and erupted and clapped for him. I stayed in touch with him for years. So that is, to me, the joy of teaching, is helping people realize everybody's creative.
Yep.
Everybody can do it if they just have the courage to do it.
Yeah. And that's why I love doing this podcast, is because everybody's got a story to tell.
Oh yeah.
And getting people the opportunity to do that. So you've taught art, design, theater, we just talked about. What is one lesson from the classroom that still guides your work today?
Being curious. I never hid the fact. I'm not one of those teachers that when somebody asks me a question, I feel like, oh, I must know the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll say, I have no idea. Let's go find it. Let's figure it out.
Absolutely.
And one thing that was fascinating to me as a teacher in all these different areas is the more accomplished I became in, let's just say, figure drawing class I taught. That actually taught me so much about how a body works and how to use my own body in 3-dimensional space to communicate more clearly, because you're helping a person pose to be drawn. So all these things I found were very interrelated, and it didn't feel like I was shifting gears. It was all, I go from teaching public speaking to teaching 3-dimensional design, but it didn't feel like a jarring experience to me. But everything, just that curiosity of how does this work, is what I love about teaching.
That's so cool. So you've danced between creative director and educator. So how did your time in advertising shape your approach to arts education, and vice versa?
Well, I guess it's kind of like, if art happens and nobody shows up, did it really happen? So advertising to me has taught me how to really communicate why this should be important to you, why the arts should be important to you. Because, well, public speaking, that egocentric part of us that's, what am I going to get out of this? That's what you have to answer when you're trying to get people to come to a show is this, you're going to get something out of this. This is going to be an experience that we'll have together. That's the magic of theater, is the audience is a crucial part of the entire experience. You know, when you do a show for a year, people are like, how can you do the same lines every single night for a year? Because it isn't the same show. It's completely different every single time. And I was in touring theater, so we'd literally show up 5 minutes till it's time to be on stage and just run on stage. And the thrill of the audience, that was always unique to me. So, advertising is still something that I care about. And obviously, that's a huge part of my job right now, is how to use marketing to get the word out. And in my 30 plus years, things have definitely changed. The posters that I used to design, and that was the greatest marketing tool you had available to you. They're okay, they're great, but you better be doing more than posters.
Yeah.
If you're really expecting an audience to show up. And I'm fighting a culture. I shouldn't say fighting, that's too aggressive of a word, but I've been at UCO for 4 years. And I came into the culture of, I need a poster or a flyer and job done. I need a flyer. Well, we do over 200 events a year, well over 200 events a year. I cannot create a flyer for all 200 of those. It's when we talk about the marketing department, it's me and one other person.
Oh, wow.
It's not like you think of a university the size of UCO as, being staffed up. We are not. We are all doing 3 or 4 people's jobs. So I'm having to slowly transition into what I would call modern marketing or modern advertising. Of course, that involves social media, that involves a website presence, that involves lots of different things. And that curiosity of trying something, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
Absolutely.
And I love printed stuff. We still do posters, but we try to keep that to what I would call our main stage productions. That's a more manageable group.
Sure.
That we can handle. We typically would have 3 main stage shows in the fall and 4 main stage shows in the spring, because we'd have an opera in the spring. So, that's a manageable number of posters and graphics that we can create in a year. And of course, we're learning with social media, which is constantly changing. The algorithm, as soon as you figure out the algorithm, it's like, oh, let's change it on you.
Yep.
But so video is becoming a bigger part of what we're trying to transition into.
Interesting. Okay. So during your time in advertising, you decided to come back, get a master's in theater. Was there a particular production or project or student moment that made you say, this is why I came back to the arts?
Well, there is one production that I saw that I would call life-changing. It lit the fire of, I don't want to do advertising for the rest of my life. I was a senior getting ready to graduate. My sister at that time was a freshman. And for the first time ever, the tiny little college we were at was going to take a group up to the Stratford, Ontario Shakespeare Festival. And you could get like your senior level English class for going and doing that and writing papers about it. And for a kid from the Panhandle who had only seen college plays and been in college plays, to go to see, we saw, the very first play I saw was Midsummer's Night's Dream, Comfiore. I don't know if you're familiar with, you would know his face if you saw it. He's one of those actors who is all over TV and movies. And this was, 1994, 95, somewhere around in there. So he probably wasn't as big of a deal back then, but he was Oberon. And that show, I'm sitting there watching this going, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, not advertising. So that experience has always been, that's back when I was in college, the guiding light of what to return back to. It's not that I don't blame my father, and I have definitely used everything I learned in graphic design and advertising to help me promote my passions, which are the performing arts and the fine arts too. So I don't regret him pulling me out of theater. There are definitely times where I'm like, how would life have been different if I would have got that theater bachelor's? But that experience up in Canada, I mean, first of all, you come out, it's a bare stage, right? And these giant mushrooms start growing up out of the stage, and they're inflatable, but they're tough enough that people can crawl up on top of them. So the fairies are jumping up, flipping up and down off of these mushrooms. Wow. Oberon is dressed in a snakeskin suit and slithers over the top and does a flip down off the top of him. I mean, the spectacle of that was fantastic.
That's definitely the hook.
It was the hook. It was amazing.
So shifting gears just a little bit, bring this into modern day. You now lead marketing and communications for the College of Fine Arts and Design, which, like you said, that's 2 people. So, but it is a $5 handle, so yeah, we'd waive it. So, what is your UCO CFAD elevator pitch?
I love UCO. Even though I have only been there 4 years, it instantly felt like home. I have never worked with such amazing people as I do in our little college. I mean, I love our students. I love our faculty and staff. What I love about UCO is you could be a first generation student. In other words, no one else in your family has ever gone to college. And we're going to take care of you at UCO. You don't know the word bursar or registrar. We don't care. We don't even use those words. We try to be a very supportive place where people can really learn their craft in a safe environment. We're not perfect. We know we're not. The thing that shocked me a little bit about UCO, it claims to be, and I think probably rightly so, to be the oldest university in Oklahoma. Don't ask me when the date was because I'm terrible with that. The building I work in was built in 1913 though. So, it's an old campus. And I just assumed they have got everything already figured out. They've been in business over 100 years. Well, the people cycle in and out of there constantly. I'm almost considered an old timer as 4 years in some ways. So we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves. Communication is a constant struggle between what I would call administration, faculty, and staff. So, we're still trying to work out and figure out how to solve problems when they come up, because like our dean started when I started. So everything's new to her as well. But my elevator pitch for UCO is it's small enough to where you're going to get some great attention. We're the 3rd largest university in Oklahoma. So it's a big place, but you don't get lost. Everybody knows who you are. We say hello to each other when we're walking up and down the hall. It's just almost a magical place. I love it.
Very cool. So as the leader of marketing communications, that elevator pitch, how do you incorporate that into your work, and how do you get it out to the masses?
That's what we're struggling with. As you mentioned, just saying that University of Central Oklahoma College of Fine Arts and Design is a mouthful. And when you visit our website, meaning UCO's website, good luck trying to find my little college. Good luck. We're not. You'll see the sports prominently featured, as you would on any university's website. So what I am trying to do is figure out a way, an easy way to allow people to get to our content. So this summer, in fact, I created bronchoarts.com. And yes, we are the Bronchos. I guess we got teased enough about our weird spelling of Bronco that we just embraced Cho. We are Bronchos.
Okay.
So it's bronchoarts.com. And that takes you to our events page and that's easy for people to remember, hopefully. And it's still one semester old, so we're still learning and tweaking, but it is a struggle getting the competition. Even I go to our own students. I'm like, so are you seeing our marketing efforts? No. I'm like, well, do you read your email? No.
Mm-hmm.
Do you read the weekly, actually daily newsletter that's sent out that's talking about everything that's going on? No. Do you look at the digital signage? No. So, the struggle is I'm on campus with the generation that is used to being able to access information how they want it, when they want it, on demand. So all these weird things we had in the past of visit uco.edu/CFAD-tickets it was a word salad trying to get people there. So we're going to give Broncho Arts a go and see what happens. We've even made t-shirts.
That should do it, right?
I'm hoping that if we give away a free shirt to some students, maybe that'll help.
There you go. It's can't hurt, right?
No.
So CFAD spans art, dance, theater, music, and design. How do you balance showcasing each discipline while telling a unified story?
It's a struggle. I mean, we have two divisions of music. We have your kind of traditional college music program, and then we have the Academy of Contemporary Music down in Bricktown. And we have an art gallery, and we have all this stuff. It is a massive undertaking for two people to take on, because as you can imagine, when you're working with all these different directors, whether it's in dance, music, opera, theater, the thing that they're doing right now is the most important thing in the world, and they all want a piece of you. So it is a constant challenge. I do think we're making progress. To me, and here's something. So Broncho Arts, the School of Design reached out and was like, well, we're not included in that, because we're design. So in my mind, I'm like, well, technically you're correct, but the average person is not going to think, well, design is not part of art. So it's just a constant balance of trying to, and we got the jazz lab. I even forgot, good night.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a professional venue in and of itself that students have their shows in there, but that is almost constantly got professionals coming in and out of it. So that could have it doesn't, but it could have its own marketing department, but we take care of that too.
Wow.
So it is a real challenge trying to keep all of that going.
Wow. So are there any recent incentives, performances, or exhibits at UCO that made you stop and think, now this is special?
There's a lot actually, but
I'm sure it's like a parent with children. It's like, which one's my favorite?
right. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Because of my background, I have such a soft spot for our department of theater. Uh, I love those people and I love those students. Uh, and pretty much anything they do, I am excited to go and see. If I had a soft spot, it's really an organization. Uh, we had a theater club, Alpha Psi Omega, and they recently rebranded and kind of shifted gears a little bit. And they're calling themselves UCO Theater Society. And they're really hoping to just, because Alpha Psi Omega, first of all, what is that? Theater Honor Society. It feels like, well, that's not something I can be a part of as a accounting student who loves theater. But UCO Theater Society, anybody and everybody can be involved in that. And they put on some of my favorite productions. They would be what we might call a spotlight show because it's going to be in the theater studio or another smaller venue on campus. But it's like 3 rows deep. It's real intimate. I think it only seats about maximum 40 people. And those to me are super special because it's just, first of all, it's just when you get that, it's kind of like we were talking a little bit earlier, when the stage is right there, so to the point where you feel like you're a part of it. That is an experience as an audience member, I think, because you feel like you're part of the show almost.
Yeah. Black box theater has really become a kind of a passion of mine, as
Yeah.
opposed to larger proscenium presentations. Having that, like you said, the audience almost in your lap,
Yes.
making them part of the show. And now, immersive theater has become this big trend. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it's now becoming this big thing. More and more theaters are doing it, just getting the audience involved with with the show and all of that. So, I'm right there with you on that. So how does the College of Fine Arts and Design support emerging artists and performers in Oklahoma?
I think our real job is to equip them with the tools that they need so that they can go out and tell the stories that are on their hearts. We are a state school, so that means we live under the rule of the state, and that comes with a whole lot of limitations. It really does. Not that we have come up with, that are imposed upon us. So we're trying to do a better job of communicating so that we can help the students tell the stories that they want to tell on campus. But that's going to take more communication than we have been doing. More and more frequent. We need to sit down in a room together and work these inevitable problems that are going to happen out. Because, I listened to your podcast with Liberty and Maggie, and I was fascinated to learn from listening to them and their story how little they knew about why the show was canceled. And I don't know the answer either. That's the problem. There was no real communication about, and again, this is my problem solving part of me. We could have probably figured this out if we would have all got together and talked. What else can we do other than cancel that show?
Surely there was a loophole or something.
And I don't know. And I'm certainly not, speaking on behalf of the university. That's not my job. I'm the guy who tells people, here's what the show's about, and here are the dates and times, and here's how to get tickets.
Right.
But that's, to me, is, as a teacher, you learn as much from the students as you teach them in a lot of ways. So equipping our students and by the way, this whole thing with boy, my greatness ended up being a much better situation than we could have ever provided for them. Much, much bigger performing space, way bigger budget. And they even got more time to rehearse because they bumped it back. But
which they open this week.
They
Actually,
do.
they open on Thursday.
Yeah.
Upstage.
yeah,
So already talked with Liberty. I will be there Saturday night. So
great.
I'm looking forward to supporting them and seeing what the final product looks like.
I am too. Yeah.
So you're doing trying to do what you can to support those emerging artists and things like that. How do you see that playing in the broader arts ecosystem in Oklahoma?
Well, I love hearing about some of our graduates who are going on and teaching high school theater. And then, it just kind of grows from there. And they're getting the bug to their students. I am so happy with what I'm seeing in the theater community in Oklahoma Metro, but even beyond that. I moved to Oklahoma Metro in full time in 93. And there were some theater happening, but quite frankly, if you didn't enjoy going to bars when the when the sun went down, there was not a whole lot going on other than going to a bar. I'm not a bar person, but I love how the Oklahoma theater community is. There's so, as this podcast can attest, there's so much going on. It's almost impossible to have it all in one place.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's hard to throw a stick and not hit a theater.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
so I love seeing our students go out. And, I hadn't even really talked a whole lot about musical theater, but my goodness, like Caleb Barnett, who I worked with my very first year, he was a student in the theater program. He's now in Aladdin on Broadway, and he was just on The View today.
Nice.
So, I mean, my
I did see that promotional
yeah, no,
flyer on Facebook.
I certainly would never take credit for that, but just having known him,
Yeah.
we worked on the poster together. In fact, for Sweeney Todd. No, I don't even remember what show it was, but he said, I did a poster. And I'm like, well, show it to me. And I'm like, we're going to use that poster. And we did. So, that's the joy of watching these people get out and do amazing things. And even the people who never use that theater degree, again, as far as, I shouldn't say never use it again, it informs everything that they do. But you know what I mean? It may not be their source of income.
Sure.
And I hate it when people, that's one of the things that's so annoying is, what do you do? Well, I work in advertising, but that's not who you are.
Yeah.
It should be that maybe that's the question we should be asking people is, who are you? Instead of what do you do?
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that have gotten an art degree, a theater degree, a dance degree, you name it, in our college that go off and do amazing things. But people wouldn't, like right now we have art student who has a amazing floral shop that she started herself, grows her own organic flowers, and makes these beautiful arrangements with a fine art degree.
Wow.
You wouldn't necessarily connect those two.
Right.
But when you see her work, you absolutely would. You would know that an artist did that.
Yeah, my wife is a UCO graduate. She graduated with a degree in music education.
Oh, yeah.
She taught for 7 years. Now she has a CPA. She's finishing her degree in accounting and works for a company where she travels all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, did it spur off of her arts degree? Not necessarily, but there's lots of things that she does the analytics that she learned through music, she's all about spreadsheets, which if you look at a spreadsheet, you can see the music in it.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, there's so much of what she has learned, and even the education part of it, what she does for a living, the interaction she has with people is the education form of that, and so
Yeah.
I see the same thing that you're saying, that just because you're not working in that field doesn't mean that field isn't working in you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I
Yep.
love that. So you've worked with organizations like the Oklahoma City Zoo, CASA, and the City of Edmond. How do those community ties inform your work at UCO?
We're doing what we do for the community. A huge part of the power of the arts to me, and you have to educate the community how to be consumers of the arts. I learned this myself through my own education. Uh, when you are studying art, the very first thing that you're probably going to be attracted to is representational art. I love that because I love horses, and that's a horse. And then you go see modern art where someone has thumbtacked a string to the wall and is calling it art, or put two basketballs in a fish tank, or whatever. So I see what we're trying to do in our college is educate Edmond how to be great consumers of the arts. Oklahoma City is the home of Hobby Lobby. I'll go get my framed poster and hang it on the wall. And I'm not, hey, that's great. But we have amazing creators in this state.
Oh, yes.
And if we can educate people to support those people in our community, our neighbors, as far as I'm concerned, our Oklahoma family, when the arts are strong in a place, it affects everything.
Yes.
And as we see arts rise, well, first of all, from a very practical standpoint, from my point of view, they're probably going to go out to eat before they go to the show. We have so many students whose parents have driven in and are staying at a hotel. So it's all connected, The community is what we're serving. That's who we're trying to help at UCO.
Makes perfect sense. So looking at things a little bit differently, go into our next section here. Music theater. This is kind of a fun little question for you. Music theater is very close to your heart. You talked about that. If you could direct any show tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Oh, sweet Lord. I don't, that's a good question. I would have to, just off the top of my head, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay.
I know every word. So, and it's one of those road trip music soundtracks that I am listening to when I was in my 20s and 30s. I love that show. I'm not a huge Andrew Lloyd Webber fan, but I love that show. I think it'd be fun to do.
Okay. So you've seen both sides, backstage, front of house, educator, marketer. What's one misconception that people have about theater professionals?
That it isn't work. That it's just all fun and games. These are professionals. When I'm involved in lots of meetings. In fact, meeting, and it's all production meetings. And I'm listening, as a marketer, trying to pick out what I can pick out to help tell that story in the marketing world. And listening to the people that we have on staff, and I will even include students, because students are always a part of our productions, both on stage and behind the scenes. My goodness, they're so talented. They know so much. They're like, well, actually, our proscenium will not work for that. We only have this much. They know everything.
Wow.
And the misconception is that you just threw it together because it looks effortless when it's done well.
Yes.
And the misconception would just be hours and hours and hours and years sometimes that go into, like, a director maybe wanted to do that show for a decade before they finally get the opportunity to do it, but they've been planning it. So just the amount of work that goes into it, I think, is underestimated.
So you touched a little bit on this earlier. What is your take on how theater and design intersect, especially in, as we talked a little about, in the storytelling and the audience experience?
Well, they're both telling a story and this is something that I definitely think about, because I often will have a very well-intentioned director try to also direct the marketing efforts. And sometimes it works together beautifully, but sometimes they want to tell the entire story of the play on the poster. And that, first of all, is really, really difficult to do. And I know from my 30 years plus what's going to work and communicate clearly. You only have fractions of a second to get people's attention and hopefully engage them enough to where they'll walk up and look closer at that poster. But if they don't even glance at it, if they just walk on by, then it's not an effective poster to begin with. So I often will try to say, I know that this marketing vehicle may not be something that you would put on the stage, but I guarantee you it's going to get people to the theater to watch what you're putting on stage. I would love it if everything could always be perfectly cohesive and that we could show the actors in the costumes they're going to be wearing, which are never ready until the night of the show.
Sure.
So we have to try and do our best because we are working months ahead, not weeks.
Right.
We are already working on we've got next semester shows done. Nothing else is done. Costumes aren't done. Some of those shows aren't even cast. But our marketing materials are as done as we can get them because we have to have them. When you're doing 200 plus events, I don't have time to stop the freight train and work on this one little thing when it's convenient for someone else.
Sure.
I have to think about the big picture. But when I will say, and the person I work with is a graphic designer like me, and she's been hitting home runs with our posters. Blythe's Spirit poster was lovely. Guys and Dolls was great. And next semester's shows are going to be even better, I think. And we're doing some fun stuff next semester. So I'm really looking forward to that season as well.
Good. Look forward to it. Anything that you can hint on?
I brought notes. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
If I don't take the opportunity to talk about what we're doing next semester as
by
a
all
marketer,
means,
yeah.
you have the microphone. Get after it.
So our main stage shows next semester, we're going to start off with Theater Arts doing Mr. Burns, a post-electric play. Have you even heard of that show?
I've not, but I have seen all of the promotional stuff going on.
So, yeah, I had never even heard of it, but it literally is a post-apocalyptic story about what happens if society woke up one day and, electricity was just gone. And these people gather around a fire and they're trying to recall an episode of The Simpsons. And of course, when you're recalling a story, you never quite get it right.
Of course.
And it just shows the power of storytelling and myth and ritual and theater, because I think the play takes place over 70 years. So it shows how that retelling of that episode of The Simpsons changes.
Wow.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, that sounds really
And
good.
talk about tech heavy show. It's going to be really interesting to see.
How do you do a tech-heavy show when there's no electricity?
Exactly. Everything has been repurposed.
Okay.
So how do you create a theater lighting in the age where there's no, they do, but I don't know how they're going to do it. So
Very well.
that's what we're opening up with. Then we're doing a double feature opera, The Ghost of Gatsby and The Old Maid and the Thief in February. And then we're ending the main stage shows is a Tuck Everlasting, the musical,
Oh, wow.
which I don't know a thing about. But
I don't know anything about the musical.
it's based on the book.
I've heard the book, and
Yeah,
my daughters, I remember, loved the movie, and so
Now, Colin Androlanis, who's our theater education teacher, in March is going to be doing a show that also sounds fascinating to me. It's called Hand to God.
Good.
And it is about a puppet ministry at a church. And this student's puppet starts developing its own personality. And you really start to wonder who is controlling who.
oh
So it sounds like complete and total chaos.
wow.
I'm unfamiliar with that show as well, but I'm excited to see it. We're doing a lot of new works. Now this one, I'm familiar with. This is kind of a series of shows. We're doing the Bible, the Complete Word of God, abridged in April.
Okay.
And I've seen complete works of Shakespeare abridged.
Right.
Same people. And that one is, again, going back to that UCO Theater Society. That's going to be one of their shows.
Okay.
So that'll be in our little black box theater. It should be a really cool experience. So that's some of the stuff we're going to be doing next semester. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
And I think that's one thing that I think really kind of helps you with your job is each time you see the next season coming out, you already are enthused. You're already excited.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's plays such a key role that even for actors or marketers or whatever, if you don't enjoy what you're doing,
Yeah.
why are you doing it?
Yeah. This is a dream job for me in a lot of ways. I love this stuff. So I'm excited to tell people about it. The only area that we have that I don't have some sort of experience in, but it's because of the way I was raised, is dance. Because I was raised in a small little town in a small little church, and dancing was a sin.
Oh,
So I'm probably a closeted dancer. I've never had the opportunity to do it, so I go to almost every dance show that we have. And going back to that whole thing of learning as how to be a consumer of arts, I'm having to learn the language of dance.
Yeah.
It's a brand new art form to me. And each time I go, I'm learning a little bit more.
yeah.
And I'm sitting next to people who are learning with me. Bruce and I were at a show, and there's this tiny little woman, clearly a great grandmother, who was there to support her grandchildren.
Oh,
And she goes, "They're just rolling around on the floor." She said what most of us were probably thinking, because there was a lot of rolling around on the floor happening. But now, when I go and I see that, I have a much better understanding of why they're rolling around on the floor, what they're
Yeah.
trying to, because it's storytelling too.
right.
And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of overlap.
Just a different form.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, as we start winding this down, we've talked about you, we've talked about UCO, we talked about how we tie all that in. Now we get to have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
You've listened to the podcast a few times, so I like to end with some curveball questions. And so we usually call these our curtain calls because we save them for the end. So just some that we're going to throw out. And again, it's just fun. It's whatever pops into your head.
Okay.
Okay. So you're stranded on a desert island with one design tool, one theater script, and one soundtrack. What are your picks?
Okay. First, you hit me with a list. So what was the first one? Was the
Okay.
design tool.
Design tool.
These days, your design tool is a computer, but I will go with a Sharpie, a black Sharpie.
Okay. A theater script.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
That was your go-to. And one soundtrack.
Jesus Christ. Superstar.
I just knew we were going to tie all this
Yes.
together. Okay. Okay. So what's a theater role you've never played but secretly wish you could?
I kind of want to be in Mr. Burns, a post-electric play. I think it would be fun to play Homer Simpson.
That could be fun. That could be fun. Okay, last one. Wrap this up. This is our rapid fire round. So we're going to hit them to you hard and fast. Favorite stage prop that you've ever worked with?
Tennis ball.
Tennis ball.
Mhm.
Okay. Most underrated musical of all time?
I don't know. Underrated musical of all
Underrated.
time. Annie.
Okay. One word that describes your creative process.
Curious.
I like that you came up with it earlier. I like that. Oklahoma arts in 3 words.
I would say that they are bold, brave, and adventurous.
Excellent. Excellent. Scott, thank you for taking your time and being a part of this. Thank you for being a good sport and answering the curveball. So, thank you for doing what you do to help further the young artists and maybe some not so young, but the creative minds that are coming in. At least we can call them the next generation of creative
Absolutely.
minds.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you're doing to help be a part of that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
For everybody else listening at home, thank you for taking your time to listen to the episode, to be a part of all of this. We appreciate it. We thank you for your support in all that we do. Be sure to check out our website, oklahomaonstage.org. If you have any questions, email us at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com. And by all means, no matter what you do, continue to support the arts.
Oklahoma on stage.